Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Open Badges session focusing on learning providers. Our first presenter is Pat O'Brien, Senior Vice President of the Commission on Institutions of Higher Education of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges.
Thanks very much, Deb. It's a pleasure to be here today to talk with you a little bit about accreditation and badges. I'm from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, which is the regional accrediting association for the 6 New England states. The Commission accredits almost 250 institutions across those 6 states and in a couple of foreign countries. I realize that there's a bit of a range in terms of understanding accreditation among participants, so I thought it might be helpful to start just simply with a definition of accreditation, and that's what you see on the slide right now. I've underlined some of the important concepts to make sure that we don't miss them. What I would stress here is that accreditation is a process of peer review, a process of self-regulation, if you will. It's also voluntary. You don't have to be accredited as an institution here in the United States, although there are some advantages to doing so, and we'll talk about those before the session is out. The notion of accreditation as a peer review process or a process of self-regulation, I think stands in contrast to a bit of commonly received wisdom, which is that accreditation is a force external to institutions, external to higher education. But in fact, the accreditors are folks working in higher education. Or to paraphrase the comic strip character Pogo, we have met the accreditors and they is us. So, accreditors, those representing higher education, put forth what it is that comprises quality in higher education, the standards, if you will, for accreditation. The graphic that you see at the bottom of this slide is one of our very favorite here at NEASC because it shows the two purposes of accreditation: to assure quality to external constituencies and to foster improvement at the institution to be in balance. These days, I would say that for many, that public purpose of accreditation, assuring quality to external constituents, seems to be in the limelight. But for institutions that go through the accreditation process, the opportunity to use that process to foster on-campus improvement is equally important. All colleges and universities, no matter how good they are, believe that there are ways that they can improve. And accreditation is more than just a quality assurance function, it's also a quality improvement function. Accrediting agencies are membership organizations. They are not governmental departments or governmental agencies. The members, of course, are the accredited institutions. There are 3 different types of accreditation: regional, in which the agency accredits institutions in a certain part of the country, regardless of the type of institution; national agencies, which accredit certain types of institutions, for example, Bible colleges or career schools, regardless of where they are located; and then specialized accreditation or programmatic accreditation, which, as its name suggests, is where the agency accredits a program in a particular field, such as law or medicine, education, or nursing. The link to the government is described in the 3rd dot on this particular slide. Although accrediting agencies are not governmental agents, they are recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, and the link comes through federal financial aid. Students at colleges and universities are able to use federal financial aid to attend that university when the institution is accredited by an agency that is recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. I realize that all seems a little convoluted, but what it means is that there are several steps of control in place or cross-checking in place to assure the quality of the educational experience. The fact that accrediting agencies are recognized by the U.S. Department of Education means that they must meet certain federal regulations in order to attain and then retain that recognition. Towards the bottom of the slide, we see a list of individuals and groups that rely on accrediting agencies for that stamp of approval of the college or university that is accredited. Prospective students and their families, funding agencies, and certainly the federal government look to accreditation to provide for them that assurance that what is going on at the institution is indeed of high quality, is indeed worthy of the public trust, and in the case of the federal government, worthy of those billions of dollars in federal financial aid. The numbers at the bottom of the slide will give you an indication of the size of the accreditation enterprise here in the United States. So how does accreditation work? Well, it all starts with quality. The definition of quality as agreed to in a particular region or for a particular type of school is articulated in the standards or the criteria. And once again, because accreditation is a process of peer review, those standards of quality are determined by the membership, by the institutions. How do you know if an institution is meeting those standards of quality? Through a process of periodic review. Every institution is reviewed in a comprehensive way at least once every 10 years, and much more often during that 10-year window. It is a fallacy to say that accreditation only drops into the life of an institution once every 10 years. It's an ongoing relationship between the accrediting commission and the institutions themselves. And certainly during that 10-year accreditation cycle, institutions are undergoing all kinds of changes. Some of those changes rise to the level of being what are called substantive changes that need to be reviewed by the commission before they can be considered as encompassed within the institution's accreditation. Again, the commission that is making the decisions, the accrediting agency, is vouching for the quality of the institution. So if there is a substantive change, the commission needs an opportunity to review that change so it can vouch for its quality as well. What are some examples of substantive changes? Moving to a higher degree, offering programs via distance education, establishing contractual arrangements for the award of instruction, establishing off-campus locations are just a few examples. So who makes all of these decisions about whether or not an institution should be accredited or continued in accreditation? Each of the accrediting agencies has a board or a commission comprised of representatives of the higher education community, presidents, vice presidents, faculty, finance officers, student service officers, library and technology folks, as well as some public members, folks who haven't worked in higher education for at least 10 years, but who care deeply about the quality of higher education and are committed to the work of the accrediting associations. They are the ones who make the decisions. So once again, paraphrasing Pogo, the accreditors is us. Accreditation has been a bit in the news, at least here in the United States, and here are just three of the topics that are hot, if you will, when we think about accreditation in the news. The importance of college education, the cost of a college education are prompting concerns about these issues. Student learning, and I believe that Deb alluded to this in her introductory remarks. What is it that students know, and how do we know that students have achieved at a particular level? So the assessment of student learning as well as student levels of achievement are important topics these days, as is the transparency of the accreditation process. What obligation, if any, does an accrediting agency have to publish the results of accreditation reviews, or is that something that's better left to the institutions themselves? The arithmetic at the bottom, accreditation equals standards plus mission, is a reminder that the accreditation process is designed to be respectful of institutional mission. There's a tremendous diversity of institutions in the United States. Certainly in New England we see that magnified across the country, and the accreditation processes respect the mission of the institution while still maintaining that the standards of quality need to be met and demonstrated in order to receive that seal of approval, that badge of accreditation. No pun intended with the word badge there. But it does provide a nice segue to our next slide, which is to say, how does all of this relate to badges? What does accreditation have to do with badges? Here are some issues to think about with respect to badges and accreditation. The first is a bit of a threshold question, which is credit involved? Is the award of academic credit involved? Because accreditation is primarily concerned with credit-bearing experiences. The reason for that is the link to federal financial aid. Because federal financial aid can be used for experiences for which academic credit is earned, it is of particular importance that accreditation assure the quality of those experiences. However, it's also fair to say that most of the accreditation standards of the various agencies include the fact that the institution is responsible for all of the educational activities that are done in its name, and so that would include awarding badges as well. Second issue with regard to badges is quality. Accreditation is all about quality. So with regard to badges, is the educational experience for which the badge is being earned one that is of high quality? And how do you know? What are the measures that are being used to determine the quality, the integrity, and the coherence of the experience leading to the award of a badge? And then finally, who gets to make that determination? Accreditation standards typically stress the importance of academic oversight and faculty participation in determining academic quality assurance, in determining the academic quality of every educational experience offered by the institution, including badges. So there are just three examples, if you will, three issues to consider with regard to badges in the circumstance where the institution, the accredited higher education institution itself, is awarding the badge. What about the circumstance where a student comes to an accredited institution of higher education having earned some badges and is looking for those to be accepted by the higher education institution? What does accreditation say about that circumstance? Well, here are three issues that would need to be considered. The first is how many badges? Most accrediting agencies will specify in their standards some limits on the amount of transfer credit that can be accepted, and also some limits on the amount of non-collegiate sponsored learning that can be accepted in transfer. Most agencies do not have a hard and fast number here, but rather leave it to the institution to determine what is appropriate and to demonstrate through accreditation reviews how they came to that determination that it is appropriate. These limits go back to something that was on one of the earlier slides, the coherence and the integrity of the educational experience leading to a degree program. Relatedly is the need to be able to demonstrate collegiate-level academic content for any experience for which credit is being awarded, including credit that is being awarded in transfer or accepted in transfer. Again, back to the coherence, integrity, and the rigor of the educational experience, all of which are certified when an institution is accredited. And finally, issues regarding public disclosure, how it is that students will know what they can expect. If a student applies to an institution with some badges in her backpack, if you will, she needs to be able to know clearly what is going to happen to those badges, whether they will be accepted in transfer or not, whether there are any limits on the extent to which they may be accepted. So that's a kind of quick overview of accreditation and how it can intersect with badges. For those of you who don't have a good grounding in accreditation and would like more, or for those of you who have an initial understanding and want to read more and learn more about accreditation, I would refer you to the website of CIHE, the Council for Higher Education Accreditation. It's a wonderful website that, in addition to having links to many accrediting agencies, the websites of many accrediting agencies, also is just a treasure trove of information about accreditation, presentations, papers about what accreditation has been, some of the current challenges to accreditation, and what it can be in the future. So with that, as some introductory remarks from me, I will thank you